If you are sick and tired of dealing with the same old objections when you sit down and try to sell a life insurance product and want to know how to rebuttal those objections, stick around because I'm going to talk about the 3 most common objections life insurance agents will hear and what the rebuttals are to work around them and close more deals. So stick around. Hey YouTube, it's Dave Duford here at Final Expense Agent Mentor, where I help agents like you become successful in the life insurance business and the final expense business. And today's video is about how to overcome the 3 most common objections that you'll hear when you're selling any kind of life insurance product. So picture this, you're sitting down with your prospect, you've qualified them, you've gone through the whole process, and you offer whatever package it is that you're selling, and they give you the old, looks good, Dave, but I need to think about it. Or I don't really know, or I can't afford it, or whatever. It's frustrating, it kills deals, and there's got to be a way to work around it in order to overcome these objections so that you can get better results. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. So the first objection that is the most common, I believe, is the I need to think about it objection. So let's talk about the mentality of the I need to think about it objection to begin with. Then we're going to talk about what you need to specifically say word for word in order to overcome that and dig deeper. So the first thing is, really with any kind of objection that you first hear is always a surface level objection. It doesn't really mean much. It's not specific. That's why the I need to think about it thing doesn't really tell you much. So what you need to remember whenever you do any kind of rebuttal against this particular objection or another is that you really don't care what they just said. You want to say a series of words to take the layer of that onion off so that you really get to the core root of whatever the problem is. Because most people don't want to be transparently, brutally honest with a salesperson, some stranger they just met. So it may take some work to rebuttal it. That's why we're talking about this after all. So what do you say? When somebody says, Dave, I like this, but I need to think about it, here's what I do. I simply say, Mr. Jones, that's totally fine. When you say you need to think about it, how do you mean? So let's talk about what that process does and why I say it and where you go after that. So first of all, I try to lower their defenses whenever I hear this objection. They're thinking I'm going to get mad. I'm going to tell them that they're an idiot and then be aggressive. Even if I've been nice the whole time, they'll think that that's what's going to happen. So by lowering their defenses, they know that I'm not here to tear them apart. But as the rebuttal continues, I say, hey, Mr. Jones, it's totally fine. If that's how you feel, that's great. But to continue here off script, but now back on script, when you say I need to think about it, how do you mean? So I say it in a tone that's not accusatory, it's not aggressive, it's really inquisitive, and it's done in a gentle enough fashion that I give this permission to the person to tell me more about what it is that's causing them to be hung up. So what happens is, when somebody says that rebuttal to a prospect, they come back and say, well, they do one of 2 things. They either continue with the smoke screens, as we call it, with some kind of, well, I don't know about this, blah, blah, blah. I need to look at this or that. Or they'll go to what really the core issue is, which is, I just can't really afford this, or this just isn't right for me, or whatever the objection is, or I don't know about this company. Whatever it is, you start to get more substantive objections that you can isolate and then go to battle with to see if you can overcome those. So that leads us to this next section. So once you've determined whatever it is that their objection is, now you can start to isolate that objection and make sure there's nothing else sticking around. So how do you do that? Very simple. So when somebody says, hey, I don't know if I can afford this, you say, hey, Mr. Jones, totally fine, and I really appreciate you telling me that. If affordability is an issue, I understand that. My question to you is, besides affordability, in fact, let's just say you could afford this, or we find a way you can afford this. Is there any other reason that you would object to buying today a policy from me? So what happens there is they either say, no, that's pretty much it, or yeah, there's this too. So you just continue the process and again, isolate the objections so that you know more specifically about what it is that they're having problems with. Once you've isolated the objections, and then once they say, no, that's pretty much it, you say, well, Mr. Jones, if what I'm hearing is the case, please let me know. If I can find you a plan that is affordable, that does fit your budget, let's say that's the objection, right? is there any reason that you would not buy from me today? Are you saying you would proceed and we could do business? And so be quiet, and then they'll either say yes or they'll say no. And if they say no, there's something else out there, and you got to keep isolating the objections around. If they say yes, that's a trial close. So that's when you can proceed to go to war with whatever objection that truly, really is. So keep that in mind. That is the process that you use when you hear the I need to think about it, because that's not really an objection. It's just a statement. It's just the cursory objection to a core objection that you need to start to overcome. So the second objection you're going to hear a lot is, I can't afford this, or I don't know if I can afford this. And so what you want to do is really continue the process of isolating that objection down. And when they say something like, hey, I can't afford this, or I'm not sure if I can, you say, hey, that's fine, Mrs. Jones. Affordability is really important. Look, I've got a family and bills to pay too, so I totally get it. My question to you is this: is there any other issue besides affordability that would cause you from doing business today? And if they say no, then now you know, and you can come back on a trial close and say, hey, look, if we can find something else that is affordable for you, that satisfies what you're looking to do, can we do business today? So you've isolated out that objection, and now you've rebutted it, and now you can go to work on overcoming that. A lot of the times with affordability, I think the big thing in life insurance, just as kind of an aside, is not to push the heavy premiums, especially if you're dealing with the middle market. You really want to make a client, make a prospect a client. Make them a customer first. You don't have to go for a grand slam. I mean, if you can get it, go for it, of course. But hey, look, if all of it takes, if they'll only take $50, $30 a month for a simple 10-year term plan, who cares? You can work on this client for years to come. That's how a lot of substantial life insurance deals occur. They are sold on a basic plan, and you at least get enough trust to take some of their money. And as they start to pay it and believe it and become accustomed to it, they trust you in the process, develop a relationship with you. And then over time, you can continue to sell them other products and more lucrative type of deals. I mean, the classic example of this is an insurance agent that goes out there and sells term insurance and just leads with term insurance, because his goal is to create a book of business and not necessarily push a high-end IUL whole life pension type plan or whatever, something like this that costs a substantial amount and maybe isn't necessarily the best fit at the time that you're there. So the key here is just, again, this is a little tangential, but I think important, is the best policy to buy is the one that's easily affordable. And as the old saying goes, the way you eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So just make your clients a customer. I personally do that. I'm not trying to push premium on these people. I just want them to buy something as long as it's affordable. And I know, being in this business since 2011, I'll always go back to these people and see them again, sell them some more, and then increase their policies. It happens all the time. Okay, so number 3 objection is you know what, I really don't think that I need this life insurance thing that you're offering. So this is a more difficult objection that really stems from how well you pre-qualified and fact-finded your prospect, and the process you use to determine whatever product it is that you're offering. So this is kind of one of those twofold deals where I would prefer that if I spoke with an agent that was having this, I don't need this objection a lot, that they go back and really identify and improve their sales process so that they can figure out where this prospect stands and then offer a product that solves a problem, a specific problem that they either know they have or that they didn't know that they have, okay? So it's really, really important. Again, in final expense, I'm big on pre-qualifying. I want to spend the bulk of my time figuring out where this prospect is in their life, what it is that they want to accomplish, and then what their budget is in the process. So when I offer the product I do, it's just a no-brainer because it matches the problem, it solves the problem, it fits their budget, and it's obviously the better choice of the options that are out there. So I think a lot of that, I don't need it. In order to overcome that, you have to go back and you have to do a better job of selling them and qualifying them. And you'll find that there are some people who probably don't need it, or you'll find that some people who are consistent saying they don't need it. If you are good at pre-qualifying, at doing policy reviews, they may have something they otherwise didn't think they have. Maybe they thought they had whole life. They've actually got a term plan and they did not want that. Well, now you've created or uncovered this problem that they have, and your solution is not going to fall on deaf ears when you've created value in helping them identify what they need. If you find somebody that even if you do a proper fact finding They agree that there's a problem, they agree that they need to solve it, and then they say that I don't need it. There's probably not a lot of commitment and not a lot of care, or there may be something beneath the surface there. Maybe they do business with somebody else. Either way, use the same series of objection rebuttals. When somebody says I don't need it, I would say back to them, I would say, look, I guess I'm a little confused, Mr. Prospect. We spent all this time. You told me flat out that this insurance is important to cover your business expenses if you were to pass away, or to cover your mortgage so your wife doesn't have to pay it. And now you're telling me you don't need it. What really is the problem, Mr. Prospect? And that way you put it back in their lap, because now they're reneging on what they said was important to them. And now they've got to explain where they were lost in the process of that sales process. Again, this is rare that this happens if you do a good job pre-qualifying, because people will come out and tell exactly what the deal is and let you know specifically where they're at, what they need to do, and you use that information to identify product sales opportunities. So in conclusion, rebuttals need to be well-crafted, well-worded, and you need to remember them and say them right on a dime, because this is not something that will prevent you from sales. If anything, it will solidify more sales, because objections are always usually things that can be overcome. And you need to get good at rebuttals, and you need to know that just because somebody's objecting, it doesn't mean that they don't want to buy. It's just whatever product that you're showing them, they're not fully convinced of. And they're taking what you're saying as gospel truth. They don't know that you could lower the price down on the coverage, or if you lead with the whole life or permanent product, they don't know that there's something else out there that could be just as good, that's term insurance and a quarter of the price. You know, so they're saying no to limited information, and it's your job to isolate said limited information and then go in with some sort of compromise product offer, or maybe sell the product a little bit better, or better yet, pre-qualify them effectively ahead of time, and in that process educate them and let them choose which one works best for whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the idea of getting consistent sales training specific to the life insurance business, please subscribe to my channel. And if you got any questions or comments, if you've got an objection you have a hard time dealing with, please list it below in the comments. I'll give you my opinion on how to handle it and do the best I can to help you out. My name is Dave Duford at Final Expense Agent Mentor, where I help agents like you sell more final expense and sell more life insurance. See you next time. Take care.